Hi, thank you for tuning in. The original video I was planning to make today was the Crayola Crayon Art Challenge. I've seen other artist YouTubers make some beautiful artwork using nothing but the standard grocery store 64 pack of Crayola crayons. So the last time I was out at the drugstore to ship off some orders from my Etsy shop. For those of you who don't know, I should introduce myself. My name is Sarah. I'm a jewelry maker professionally. I sell my jewelry on Etsy. I've made all these bracelets I'm wearing. I made this pendant that I'm wearing. It has kind of a shaman's face with some blades of a gemstone called kyanite on one side and a sacred geometry pattern. I don't know if the camera's picking this up. That's what I do, but lately I've been getting really into art videos on YouTube, and that's kind of where my passion is. So anyhow, I was planning to do this Crayola Crayon cheap art supply challenge, but for some reason, the moment I had that pack of crayons in my hand, my little vegan radar went off and I thought, what are crayons made of? And I credit that little moment of vegandar for the direction this video is taking now, because I kind of stopped what I was doing and Googled, are Crayola crayons vegan? And to my shock and horror, I discovered Crayola crayons are made of beef fat. So not only are they not vegan, but they're not even vegetarian. I went vegetarian when I was 7 years old and vegan when I was 13. And to me, like my whole childhood started flashing before my eyes in horror as I realized that even when I thought of myself as somebody who abstained from using leather and eating meat or even drinking milk or eating eggs, even back then I was using freaking Crayola crayons. So I didn't know all those years that I was supporting the slaughter of animals through art supplies. And the theme of today's video quickly changed from the Crayola Crayon Art Challenge, where I'm thinking of their old jingle, Crayola rocks, to now Crayola sucks. I cannot believe that it's not better known in the vegetarian and vegan community that this seemingly innocuous kids art supply that everyone seems to use is not a cruelty-free product. What made me even more horrified was that after doing some research and looking into the corporate information officially released by Crayola, I found on the official Crayola Facebook page, I'm gonna pause right here and show you a screenshot. So a concerned customer writes, "Is it true that you use beef fat in your crayons? If so, why?" And Crayola responds, "While a variety of Crayola products contain animal byproducts, our product formulas are proprietary and we don't have further ingredient information." That's basically like somebody with concealed weapons or like highly destructive drugs is caught by the police and questioned, and they're like, "Hey, you don't have a search warrant. Our formulas are proprietary." The moment somebody refuses to tell you what they're using because you're concerned, it means they're using something bad. So another customer asks, "Why is it necessary to use animal byproducts in your art supplies?" Valid question. Crayola gives no response. Then another parent writes, "If you won't disclose ingredients, will you at least post a list so vegetarians and vegans can avoid your products? The last thing I want is my toddler eating crayons, but it happens, and it sickens me to know that she's possibly eating animals." Crayola's response to this is so maddening. Like, I'm a non-violent person, I'm vegan, but this makes me want to slap a bitch. Crayola responds, "Hi, Andrea. We don't have any further information or a list of products to share. If your question would be in regards to a medical concern, please have your physician contact the local poison control center for assistance." Yeah, I gave her that voice on purpose. That's how she sounds in my head, or he, whoever wrote that on behalf of Crayola. Telling a vegetarian or a vegan that, I mean, completely evading the fact that it's a moral ethical dilemma, not a medical dilemma, is condescending in the worst way possible. Imagine if you're a vegan and you go to a restaurant and you order something that you assume is vegan. Say you order like a salad with a vinaigrette dressing, and then later somebody tells you, hey, don't you know it? Like, this place uses beef fat in their vinaigrette. Imagine if you ask the waitress, like, holy shit, I'm vegan. Was there beef fat in the vinaigrette? And the waitress says, hey, our recipe is proprietary, but if you're concerned about a medical issue, call poison control. That wouldn't fly. That would never happen in any other industry. Besides that, the fact that Crayola doesn't even acknowledge the person who requests a list of which of their crappy, cheap art supplies that frustrate the hell out of kids because they don't work properly anyway. They won't even give a list of which of their crap products contain animal byproducts so vegetarians and vegans can avoid them. That is completely not only irresponsible, it's rude. It's super duper rude. And this isn't just an ethical concern for vegans and vegetarians. This is also a religious concern for a lot of people. All my Hindu brothers and sisters out there who would never knowingly purchase beef or leather or anything that comes from killing a cow, if they knew that their children were coloring, beautiful images of Krishna with the gopikas in the field of beloved cows using crayons made of cow fat, that's sacrilegious to them, So this is a very serious issue, and I think Crayola handled it the worst way possible. So yeah, the way that corporate employee of Crayola, whoever's running their Facebook page, completely refuses to disclose which animal byproducts are used, even though enough independent journalists have published articles saying it's beef fat, it's tallow, it's cow fat. The fact that a vegetarian mother asks, what are the ingredients in your crayons? Because I feel bad knowing that my toddler sometimes eats these. I don't want to think of him as having eaten crayons. The fact that the corporate rep just says if you have a medical concern, call poison control. Holy crap, guys, do not give your child an art supply from a company that advises you to contact poison control. Who I'm really thinking of here, not just vegans where it's a moral and ethical concern, where we choose not to abuse or kill animals to support our lifestyles. Like I did a lot of color on my face today. It's all from cruelty-free certified vegan brands. I might talk about that in the video description below, but when we gear our lifestyles towards causing no harm to animals, or at least the least amount of harm possible, where maybe sometimes we might accidentally use something not knowing that there's a byproduct in it, I cannot believe that the corporation of Crayola won't just be forthright and directly answer a direct question when a vegetarian person is asking, what animal products do you use and in which products? So I'm thinking of this video as kind of a public service announcement that, hey guys, Crayola Crayons, they get their smell from dead cows. I'll put links to articles about that. And like I said, this is why my childhood art project started to flash before my eyes, but maybe a little more horrifically, where crap, like that fresh box of crayon scent is the scent of death. I'm not being overly dramatic. As a passionate animal rights activist, this is something I believe in very strongly, that animals should never needlessly suffer. The good news, if there can be good news in all of this, is that there is a cruelty-free brand. This is not a sponsored video. I have had zero money from this company. In fact, I am spending my own money on this brand because I'm buying their stuff from now on. Faber-Castell. The corporation of Faber-Castell has released multiple times that their ingredient list contains 0 animal byproducts. The only exception being their wax crayons are made of beeswax. That's the only non-vegan item in their production line. Otherwise, their oil pastels, their watercolor pencils, their pencil crayons, all of those products are completely cruelty-free. They are certified cruelty-free. That means none of the ingredients have been tested on animals. None of the pigment comes from an animal source. For those of you who would say, why would the pigment come from an animal source? To give an example of something I've been using unaware, Sharpie. Sharpie, I will not be buying those anymore. When that thing runs out, I'm going to use it up, but when it runs out, I'm going to find a replacement. It uses beetles. Crushed insects are a part of Sharpie's ingredients. Prismacolor pencil crayons, which I've been using for years. I didn't do my due diligence and research until I found out about crayons. They use some crushed sea animals in their products. I don't know if that means it's fish bones or if it's seashells, whether the animal dies for it or whether it's something found like shells on a beach. But in some way or another, Prismacolors have been outed as containing byproducts from sea animals. So yeah, vegan art supplies. What was going to be the Crayola Crayon Art Challenge is now going to be the Pentel Watercolor Challenge. So I'm going to color in one of my black and white ink drawings. This is just black pen on white paper. I'm going to paint it in using a fairly inexpensive art supply. Pentel watercolor paints. I don't remember how much I paid for these. I bought these a couple of years ago, and thank goodness when I Googled them, they are 100% vegan. So I feel no moral qualms about painting with these babies. The brushes I'm going to use are made with nylon bristles. FYI, a lot of the paint brushes, just like a lot of makeup brushes on the market, are made using animal fur. It's not like somebody lovingly strokes their pet and snips off some of the fur and puts in the paintbrush. These animals are skinned, sometimes skinned alive. They suffer terrible torture for the production of those paintbrushes. It's sickening, it's cruel, and it's unnecessary. Vegan products are equally high in quality. They go on the page just as smoothly. It's just as nice as anything else. It's 2020. There is no longer a need to use animal byproducts in anything. So I've got big love for Faber-Castell. I'm going to be replacing my Prismacolor pencil crayons with Faber-Castell pencil crayons. I'm going to use up what I have left first because I think it's even worse to throw something in the garbage once you find out it contains an animal-derived product and you choose not to use it anymore, because personally, when I went vegetarian, I used up my leather shoes until they wore out while I was a kid, so until I outgrew them, and then got man-made materials instead. So the same thing I did way back in the day when I first went veg. I never thought I'd have to be doing this again, but I'm going to use up what's left of the unfortunate animal exploitation products I've got, then I'm going to replace them. Thank God I went with the Pentel watercolor paints to begin with, so I'll be using these, and I'll show you what can be done with them. I'll put a list of all the art supplies I've discovered in my research contain animal byproducts in the video description, so that if, like me, you choose to avoid them, you can avoid them. And I'll also put a list of brands that I've done some research and found are, in fact, vegan and cruelty-free. I had to order stuff called Quink. It's funny, I've been planning all kinds of art videos for my channel, so I was gonna do a video using a glass pen and India ink, and found out that the ink that was in my shopping cart contained shellac, which is from the crushed beetles. So I canceled that order and Googled, and it's hard to find out which things are vegan and which things aren't. Even today, in a day and age where frickin' Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio and Jared Leto, like, we have so many A-list celebrity vegans talking about veganism, Natalie Portman and Moby, and the list goes on and on. Even in today's day and age, and I'm talking like an old lady because I'm 35 years old and I went vegan in 1999, back when it was just Alicia Silverstone and Daniel Johns from Silverchair kind of, and Morrissey. Okay, there were a lot of vegan celebs even back then, but that was the days before Miley Cyrus and what's her name? Other very famous vegans who I'm too old to be able to quote by name. But in any case, guys, by now, when everybody knows what vegan means, I would have assumed there would be more transparency about which items are vegan and which items aren't. And I'm a little bit mind blown right now that there are non-vegan art supplies that myself as a vegan still used without even thinking about it. And I mean, probably a lot of vegans out there have known this all along, and they'd be thinking, well, Sarah, geez, how did you not know this? Because a lot of these products do not contain ingredient lists because they're not consumable. We would just assume crayons are made of crayon, right? Like, it's probably some kind of soy wax or whatever. That's what I would have assumed it was made out of if somebody had asked me for my best guess. I would never have thought it's made of cow fat. I would never have thought a Sharpie contains crushed up beetles, insects. I would never have thought my Prismacolor pencil crayons had dead fish in them. So I'm a bit mind blown. And if you're also an animal rights activist, if you're a vegetarian, if you're a vegan, or if you're born into a Hindu family and you just don't use cow products, yeah, Crayola sucks. I'm boycotting Crayola for the rest of my life. And I think everyone else who feels this way should too. So yeah, hashtag Crayola sucks. And hashtag thank you Faber-Castell. Anyhow, let's get into the fun of this video, the art. I'm gonna start painting. I might finish this baby that I started like a year ago and just kind of fill in the rest of the color. Ariana Grande, that's that other vegan singer whose name eluded me for a second there. I saw my half-high ponytail and thought, oh yeah, it's Ariana Grande. There we go. So I might finish this painting. I'm definitely going to fill in this one. And yeah, I'll do a voiceover as I paint so you can find out a little bit about my watercolor techniques, and should be a fun one. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. So as you can see, the Pentel watercolors come in tubes. They don't come already in a palette. I messily squirted mine over top of dried up paint that was left over from the last time I painted, and then I got right into it. This painting started out really nicely. My goal originally was to color in all the little drawn details with cool colors, purples, blues, greens, and then to do the background in like mostly yellows with a bit of orange highlights. But when I added in some of the yellow, which you're about to see me add in, I loved that color so much that I couldn't contain it to just the background. And then I decided I'll do some green in the background too and throw in more orange, and it just became a big, vibrant mess of color. I'll admit that I wasn't as happy with this piece as I have been with pieces I've made in the past, just because it got a little muddy and I kind of lost the line work. So yeah, anybody who sees my drawing videos where I do like a live action drawing and it's real time, or if you've seen some of my paint videos from the past where I do a time lapse of a watercolor, if you think that over all my years of practice I have perfected my skill and that I'm totally happy with everything I do, full disclosure, no artist will ever be perfected, and nobody will ever be happy with everything they do, unless they're just the type of person who settles and says, what's done is done. But I think most of us, at least, aspire to get better and better with every try. So the mistakes I made in this painting, I'm not stupid, guys. I know that if you layer red over green, it turns into mud. Like, I know that if you mix opposite colors, they don't work. But even still, there are places in this piece where I tried layering purple over yellow or green over red, and it looked good while the watercolor paint was wet, but as soon as it dried, it became just a big splotchy mess on the paper. So don't do this at home. Layering watercolors can be very satisfying and can add depth and richness and color to the video, but the key is to layer colors that are of the same color family over top of each other. Orange over yellow that just went down there always looks good because they don't compete. Orange or yellow over purple looks a little dirty. So there is when I started working in some details at the end. That's why the lighting changed. This is me painting at nighttime under lamplight. And I must say, I don't dislike the finished piece, how this painting turns out looking in the end. I kind of like it. I just went for it and decided to scrap my original plan, which was to make the drawing the main feature, and the drawing kind of gets hidden, like I said. And by the time I peel off the tape, there's the finished piece sitting on my art box. I was going to show you some of my favorite watercolor paintings of all time. There's a big stack of them. I'll do that in a future video. That watercolor painting is an example where colors are layered properly over a piece and it turns out looking harmonious and nice and light. And that's the cover of my coloring book, Color Your Way to Creative Consciousness. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the video description, as well as links to all the vegan and vegetarian art supplies. In fact, I found a website that breaks it down for you, and you can just type in the art supply you're interested in, and it will tell you which brands are vegan and which brands are not vegan, and you won't have to do the hours and hours of research that I did. So hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in future videos. Much love. Bye for now.